Thank you for joining me for this discipleship series as we go through the devotional Eyes on Jesus. This is day 2. Thank you for being here. I really hope that this is edifying to you, that you receive something by listening to these videos, even if they're short, just a practical application that you can bring to your day today. Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day to start making right decisions, start making better decisions, continue to make good decisions that honor God. Today's verse is such a pivotal verse for me. It is Romans 12:2. Don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then we will know and be able to discern the will of God, the perfect and pleasing will of God. How can we know the will of God? Well, we can discern the will of God through a life of transformation, living for Him. And this has really been the foundational verse when I started my ministry, Discerning Dad. Romans 12:2 was the foundational verse and still is for the ministry. There is no other verse that describes the process of transformation that takes place as a Christian, I think, as good as this verse. And when you hear the word transformation, what do you think of? A lot of times we think of, a superhero transforming from Clark Kent into Superman. But the process really for the Christian is something that takes a long time. It takes your entire life to go through the process of sanctification. And even though we are justified and we have the righteousness of Christ, when we receive Him, we still go through the process of sanctification. Sanctification means to make something holy. And now no one is holy but God, but we can be holy before Him as we obey Him, as we live our lives to please Him, and we will get it wrong. And we'll take a step back, and we have to reanalyze ourselves and say, why did I make that mistake? Why did I fall for that trap? Why did I go back to that sin? There is no end goal in this life except for when we make it to the next life, when we go to heaven, when we face eternity. Then we've achieved and we get to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And so in the meantime, we have work to do. It is not a thing where we have salvation and then we just put the car on cruise control until we reach eternity. That's not how it works. And that's why discernment is so important, because we have to make decisions every day that honor God. The decision you made a year ago is great, but it doesn't help you today. It might have put you on the right path, but you have to continue to make decisions that honor God. I remember when I worked in business and retail, it was constantly a battle of, what have you done for me lately? And this was frustrating because my bosses would come in and see the store mess, and I'd be thinking to myself, well, the store looked beautiful a couple days ago, or I did that big project for you 6 months ago. And I would constantly go through my head all the things that made me think that I was worthy of their praise. But in reality, what the boss was seeing in the moment was not meeting expectation. And so you might think to yourself, I've done all these things for God. I should be further along than I am, or God should overlook this one sin. But we're always trying to push ourselves forward. And so all of our works are as filthy rags, we're told in the Bible, before God. So it's not a matter of just doing enough to reach His favor. You already are loved by God. We should be doing things from that love, showing that love to other people that may not know about it. And so your good works are extremely important. Martin Luther said, God doesn't care about your good works, but your neighbor does. And so we should do things for love, for other people, as we spur ourselves on, as the Bible also says that to lose all the things that easily entangle us, the trappings of life, the sin that easily entangles us. Why? Because you can't run a race if someone's holding on to your feet. And so we have to get rid of that sin that keeps coming up, that is binding us to this just, and I've been in those cycles too, where you're just stuck. You feel stuck. And it literally is a weight off of your spirit when you release that, when you give it over to God. And also when you desire God more than that sin. That's really the key. Do you desire God more than anything else? You might say logically, I don't desire that sin, but what do you turn to? What do you turn to when you're sad, when you're depressed? Do you go back to that thing? Your actions show that you desire that thing more than God by how you spend your time, by what you think about, by what you desire in your innermost being. And that should be God. That should be what we desire. And so the question today is, in what ways have you transformed your mind to be more like Jesus and not of the world? To discern the will of God, we have to be able to live a lifestyle that is holy before Him. And the commandments of God are not hard. They're for our benefit. Just as the rules of sports are not so that you don't enjoy the game, the rules are actually there so you can enjoy the game as it's intended. God, who created us, knows what's best for us. He knows how you function, how you tick, how He made you, how you're wired. That's why we're told to think upon the Lord, to pray without ceasing. All these commandments, which a lot of times we think are burdensome, are not burdening. God said, I've come to give you life and life abundantly. We have to walk in that life. We have to live that life, not just for ourselves, but there are other people relying on you to do that. Think about the people relying on you today. A spouse, a child, people at your work. And so this is a message of hope for you to really analyze, how are you being transformed into Christ, into the likeness of Christ? It might seem like an impossible goal because we will never be Christ, we will never be God, and so why even try? That's a poor mindset. It is exciting to constantly learn things and grow in Christ, to look back 5-10 years ago and see how far you've come, to see God's faithfulness in your life as a testimony. That testimony should be shared, not just when you came to Christ, but how He has sustained you in Christ. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow. Let me know in the comments what you think.